Okay, I'm going to get started today. We're missing a couple people. I think snow might be keeping some people away. Hopefully you survived yesterday's snow. Um, I'm recording this and I'll post it online too. Just a quick note, because it's the machine learning class, I've been going to start using this class a little bit to test out some machine learning as far as grading goes. Another class, we're using it a fair amount in replacing a textbook in our topics course because we don't have a good textbook there. Um, but another area I'm exploring, and a lot of people are exploring, is this grading using it. Well, in the same way that you're probably learning what you can use AI for as far as assignments and turning in stuff. Um, we're also looking at where is it best to use for scoring or grading stuff. So I started grading the discussion post because I thought that was a pretty straightforward place to go. There's pretty set criteria about the discussion posts that are listed there and that sort of stuff. So you will notice starting, I think, in year 9, I'll be doing some grading of the discussion posts with AI initially. Um, Discussion posts are graded, 0 to 5. And so I'm letting it pick a number there, but then I'm often overruling that number for now. I'm still working on it and the prompts I'm using for grading there. At some point, I think I'll provide those prompts to students. My idea, I was thinking, and some of this, maybe not so much discussion, but in other areas, is that um, research shows that the faster and more detailed feedback we get students, and particularly how fast it gets back to students, is useful. It helps their learning. And I often don't get feedback back to students as quickly as I like. A lot of research says it should be, once you do an assignment and turn it in, within like 48 hours is often kind of a time frame where you still have that, know what that assignment is and can get some feedback on it. And I don't generally get feedback back in 48 hours. So one thing I've been looking at is on some assignments, providing the prompt I would use to help grade those. And then you could, before you submit it, you could just run it through that prompt and see what kind of grade AI would assign your work and things like that. So I am not there yet, but I hope I'm working kind of towards doing that. I think we have to do a lot more research in this on how accurate these things are as far as grading goes. Right now, I'm just again, when I use it, I'm just comparing to what I would score discussion posts and what it scores. This last time I tweaked the prompt once, uh, maybe twice, because again, it wasn't scoring quite the way I have. But at the end, it was scoring pretty close the way I was scoring it there. Um, well, about half the time it was scoring exactly right, half the time it wasn't there. So just keep that in mind. You'll see that in the discussion post. And there is no discussion this week. And then starting next week, we'll bring in the final project. And then at that point, discussion posts will be optional. So if you do discussions, you can get bonus points to help with any missing assignments or stuff like that starting next week. So, okay, what are we going to do today? So today's a Thursday. We're going to do the learning activity for Unit 11 here. Again, we're looking at agents here and using Crew IA or Crew IA, Crew AI to create a crew of agents to go out and do a task for you. We're going to go open up the learning practice activity here. And you probably want to open up the write-up also, make copies. I'll just warn you, early on, we weren't modifying the notebooks much. And so it wasn't that important for you to submit the notebook. I was mainly grading off of the write-up. But with this later part, it is, and again, a number of you were remembering, we're always turning the notebooks, was great. But now, last week and this week, this sort of stuff, we are making lots of changes to the notebook. So make sure you make a copy of the notebook and submit that with your write-up. Particularly like here, part one is kind of a set example, and then part two is your own example. So again, you've got to, besides, right, I want to see in part two, what do you do? What are agents do you create, and what tasks do you give them, and stuff like that for this stuff. So, okay. So here we're just going to start up here. Again, we have to install a bunch of stuff. This takes a little while. I've already done this and do our imports. Then we define our API keys here and just choose what LLM to use. Again, I'm suggesting here that you use Gemini. So the LLM variable here is set to the Gemini one up here. We can also use OpenAI if you want to try that out. Just a note, with API keys, you should not be sharing those with these. If you create your own API keys and stuff, you should not share those with other people generally. Those are supposed to be kind of private or within an organization or stuff set there. So I'm sharing these. And again, I'm not publishing these to the internet or whatever, but I'm sharing these with you because otherwise it just keeps you from having to go up and generate these API keys and do this sort of stuff. And the amount of traffic we're generating is not that significant for this stuff. So yeah, we have our keys. We open that up here. Going to do a couple tools. I've limited this to just one tool, this SERPer tool for searching the internet. And I'm just limiting my crew to just being able to search the internet with that tool. You can define other tools if you want to search things, but I think that gets you a lot of stuff and simplifies things. Now, we're going to define, so in section one, we're going to create a crew that's going to prepare for a meeting. We have an important meeting coming up. We're going to define a crew to help us kind of prepare for that meeting. So we have a crew, we have a research specialist, an industry analyst, a meeting strategy advisor. Yeah, these are kind of made up titles, but that's okay. And then a briefing coordinator here. And again, they're kind of going in this order. We're going to do kind of a linear process here. So the research specialist will conduct research on people and companies involved in the meeting. Then we give that researcher a backstory. Now, those are like research particular companies, and then we'll want to research maybe that industry. So if you're talking to someone in the fast food industry, you want to maybe research how's that industry doing? What are the challenges in that industry? If you're talking to someone in the electronics or electronic sales, what is that industry like? Is it growing? Is it struggling? What are the current trends there? So the industry expert analyst will try to look at trends in the whole industry that these companies are in for this. So the marketing strategy advisor will try to just plan out how do we want to run this meeting? What do we want to talk about? Develop talking points, questions, strategic angles. Now, it'll be interesting to see, you kind of, well, why do we even talk about this? What we'll see when we do this is, I don't think this agent's defined very well. I wanted to have the agents develop a prep for the meeting. This is really, and tell me do some research about these people before the meeting and tell me about it. this person, the way this is written, it actually is going to figure out what the agenda for the meeting should be, or what we should be talking about at the meeting and stuff like that. So I don't know if, again, we'll see. It is important, it's helpful to define these agents to do things that you want. It seems like it might just be a bunch of words here, but it does impact it. Now, the last thing is to bring this together. The briefing coordinator will compile all the information into a concise informational briefing. So this is what the result. So often the last agent should be, in charge of producing what you want. You're collecting some data and stuff like that, and you're doing it. Now, we're doing this kind of sequentially. You can do other setups for agents. Hierarchical is the other common approach. But again, when you're first learning to do this, I think the sequential approach works. So the idea is kind of like this last one will produce our final kind of results. So again, we define those. Now we're going to get the input from the user. We're going to ask the user about this meeting. What are some of the email, or who's going to be at the meeting there? So again, often the idea is that if I have a calendar up here and I have some meeting coming up, let's go next week. Here. So a meeting coming up, I've got a list of people here from different organizations. Someone's from APEC, someone's from Elite. These different people are here at the meeting. I want to learn something about them and stuff. So often the email addresses are helpful. So we haven't done this too much, but right now this is asking for input here. So I'm actually going to copy this sample input here and paste in. But you should type in your own email addresses, or make up some email addresses, or find some people for some organization here. I would suggest try to use some email addresses that aren't like generic, like gmail.com or whatever. We want, the computer will be trying to look at these and figure out where the company is from with the email addresses. So again, if you look up or make up, or even some email addresses from companies that like the common approach is like, let's say you're doing an interview at a job, who's going to be there from that company and what are their email addresses. So I'm going to put that. The context of the meeting here, we're saying we're meeting with DigiKey recruiters to plan for upcoming campus recruiting event at the College of St. Scholastica. I'm going to paste that in there. And the objective, I plan for how students can prepare for the recruitment presentation. So again, you can input those. Now, you can either input those. Right now, we're using this input stuff. You can also just assign those, and then you would just run this through. But again, since everyone's changing them, I'm using these input things for those. So we just input that stuff at that step. Now we're defining our tasks here. And again, here we're basically having a one-to-one correspondence with agents and tasks. This isn't always the case, but here it is. So we're saying the first task is to do a research, conduct confidential research on individuals and companies involved in the meeting. And we're going to provide the participants and the meeting context. Now, here's interesting, and you saw this last week. This is a template, so we're going to substitute the participants in here. So later on, we're going to take the participants' emails and stick it in here automatically. Same with the meeting context. Up here, we asked what the context of the meeting is. We're going to put that in here also. Now, in order to get this to work, we have to use this special font. We use these triple quotes in Python, up and down. So, okay. So that's the description. The expected output is a detailed report summarizing the key findings about each participant and company. So again, it should report on each participant and what company they're from and provide us information about that. So, and then what agent we're going to do this. Again, we're matching up each of these tasks with one agent. So, and I'm not reusing, you can reuse agents to do multiple tasks here. We're going to just do a separate one for each one. We have an industry analysis task here. Similar, again, and we're feeding it the participants and the context here. And we have this expected output for this. The marketing strategy here, we're giving it the context and the objective of what we're trying to do with this meeting. We're not feeding it the participants at this point. Now, because of the way Crew AI will work through these tasks, it'll do these first tasks first, then it'll get down to this task, and we can tell it to share information from the first two tasks. So it would be nice to have the research on the people at the meeting and the industry research down here for the meeting strategy task. So we'll see that in just a sec. And then again, our summary or briefing task, our summary briefing agent is doing that. And again, it's compiling all the research and creating our, and then here, this is our expected output is what we want to do here. So now one thing will notice is I didn't say a format to do this here. Often I would maybe say, put this in HTML or Markdown format that I can, so that it would be formatted nicely. Sometimes it would do this automatically, sometimes I won't. Okay, so those are my tasks. And again, those are kind of set. You don't have to change those in this example. Now the context here, again, this is how information will flow from one to another. So we're saying the meeting strategy task, it can access the research task and the industry analyst task. So again, like we were saying, up here for the task, we're giving it the context edge up because we're not giving it the results of this task explicitly up here. That's what we do down here. We're saying that this task can use this task to get information. And again, the summary and briefing task, I think we could just give it the marketing strategy task out. We could maybe just said that, but I'm giving it access to everything that's been done to do this result. So we set up that context. And then we create our crew. We just list our agents. We list our tasks here. So just two separate lists. Every task is assigned to an agent up above. So we have to make sure that every agent is here. So we run it, we define that. And now we're going to kick off our task. So again, it's, now we have this set to verbose, so it's going to be displaying lots of stuff as it's working. So it is looking for people. So you can kind of see the research specialists, the participants here are these, someone at Austin from DigiKey, another, the other Austin from DigiKey, and NT Gibbons. So it is trying to find, do some searching for these people. So it's doing a search query of Austin Tadman at DigiKey here. And doing that, it's doing a search for this. It's searching for me there. And again, these are people who I don't know if the DigiKey people, but certainly if they're in HR, they'll probably have a web presence there. Not everyone will have a web presence, but you know, people like me will have a web presence and be around because by my email is out there a lot. Oops, what happened here? I got an error. I can figure out where I got this error. One thing I see with this is I get some unpredictable results here. Oh, so I'm going to, it looks like I'm getting too many requests at the Google API uh, for this. One of the things with this is that this sort of stuff generates a lot of LLM requests to uh, the LLMs, where, normally like you would be just doing one or two requests, just this kickoff and this sort of stuff. This could easily generate, 50 requests to this. It looks like I'm running, if I run this again, I'm wondering if I'm going to run into the same thing here or not. So again, when I ran this morning before class I wasn't getting any errors. So I'm just, now I'm getting an empty response from this LLM. Interesting. Okay, I'm going to try to switch the LLM over to OpenAI and try that. Try that here. I think I have to redo my tools after doing that because my tools, I think, are tied to that. So I'm doing my LLMs. I'm going to do the tools. I'm just going to do all these things, redo these. Oops, I didn't necessarily have to do this again, I guess, but oh well. Let's see how this works. So again, it should be able to go through and do this research these people, research these companies, and get some results back from it. And again, this will take a while. We've been talking somewhat about some of these slow AI, fast versus slow or quick response. So this is certainly a slow response. It is doing a lot of thinking there. So again, this is where we've seen some of like the development in these reasoning agents is kind of based on this sort of stuff. So again, you can see it reasoning. So like it is analyzing DigiKey here, and then the industry. So here's the overview of DigiKey's strengths, the industry's trends. DigiKey's electronics distributor, sells lots of electronic parts here and sets it up. So again, it does a lot of this. And then again, we start with our research specialists doing research on the individuals. That moves to the industry analyst doing research on these industries. Here, the meeting strategy person starts creating a list of what it thinks we should be talking about here, and eventually goes to the briefing coordinator, and that person generates this kind of plan for this. And so now it worked. Now that I have OpenAI there, it worked there. And then here's a report here. Now, again, some of this can be, there are different ways of displaying this. There's two common ways, HTML and Markdown. I didn't tell it which way, but and this looks a little bit like Markdown, but isn't. Sometimes if it's in Markdown, you can tell it to display it, or if it's in HTML, you can tell it to display, and it'll display it in a cleaner format here for this. But this is not doing that well. But again, this is what it's doing. So let's see how it worked. Briefing document for a meeting with DigiKey reporters or recruiters. Develop a comprehensive plan for students to prepare for upcoming DigiKey presentation, recruitment presentation at St. Scholastica. So again, repeated that. And again, hopefully you're doing a different one. I don't want you to do this one. I want you to make put in your own people, your own type of meeting there. Maybe you can again look through your calendar and maybe you have an exciting meeting coming up or something like that you can do. Or maybe you just can make up a meeting that you have. You know, it is, you know, March Madness finished. Maybe you want to interview, you have an imaginary meeting with some of the representatives from UConn or some other, you know, stuff. You can make up any sort of meeting you want. So do that. Okay, so let's see. Participant overview. So again, here's Austin Tadman talks about DigiKey and does a pretty good overview of DigiKey. Recent news from DigiKey here, and but wasn't able to find specific information about TAD. Now I'm wondering if it did not search LinkedIn. What I should have really done is added a LinkedIn. We had an NVIDIA one. I should have put in a LinkedIn search option here because when I search TAD there, I can, you know, get some nice specific things about TAD there. Like I can figure out where he went to school. And so then when I'm meeting with him, I can, you know, say, oh, you went to NDSU, and I can go Bison or something like that about that. Or I went to NDSU, so we can be alumni together. So okay, and again, same with me. A little outdate. I'm no longer chair, but I was chair for 20 years, so it's still a little out. Okay, some of this stuff. And again, they have a link. I don't even know I have a bio there, but apparently I do somewhere on the website. So they do that. So that's not bad. Again, not bad, not great, because again, we didn't have the tools. I think if we would have added maybe a LinkedIn tool, that would have been better. Company overview, industry overview. Again, talking about supply chain disruptions, component shortages, inflationary pressures, good stuff about it. And then the talking points. And again, I wanted this to be more about recruiting, but their first thing is overview of DigiKey's strengths and understanding of industry trends. I don't think that is that. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Ensure the alignment here, student engagement strategies here. So I was hoping this would tell us how students could better prepare for this meeting here, but this is looking at what the people in the meeting should be doing. So that's where I was talking about that alignment of what are the tasks being done there. And this is just a generic kind of meeting prep. So it is trying to figure out, well, the people at the meeting, what are they going to want to do there? And again, maybe we're talking about how we're going to engage students. So again, it is important that you define your, but they do have some resources for students to prepare for the meeting for that. It does okay. So again, in the write-up, you can answer questions about this sort of stuff. Most of these, I want you to find a description of like what an agent does. You can either search the internet or use AI. I think Crew AI is probably big enough that AI could provide this to you fine. Or else, again, the website for Crew AI will have this also. And then you can just cut and paste those answers. And then this is from our particular example here for this. So, and then I want you to analyze your results. How did it do researching the organizations based on the emails and the people? Does it match the objectives of your input? And how is the quality of this? Write a paragraph of it. And then we're going to create our own it says chain. Yeah, we're going to create our own crew. I thought I saved that already. We're going to create our own crew for the next part. Create our own crew. So again, we're going to select an LLM. We're going to set up tools. Again, here's where I think I wonder if we could create a LinkedIn search tool. We just went to LinkedIn. And specified that here. I'm just going to try that because I want to try that. Find it down here. And then you're going to set up your own agents. I expect, I don't know, do I say how many agents I want here? Yeah, so maybe I'm not clear, but I expect at least two or more agents and two or more tasks there. So if I don't explicitly say that, I should say that here. Uh, you must have two or more agents and two or more tasks. So I I just needed a sample one here. So I made up a travel thing because again, we don't apparently in computer industry don't go on trips enough. But to make it exciting, I wanted to be a secret agent on an adventure and traveling to Duluth here for some spy. So the role is a British secret agent. The goal, of course, to save the world. And here's their backstory. Here's the task: plan to spy on the illegal operations at Grandma's restaurant. Because we all know, I mean, any restaurant named Grandma's got to have mob ties, right? That's pretty obvious that Grandma's has mob ties there. We all know that. So we're going to search that. We have to travel from our destination, travel to your destination, Duluth, from your home base in London. Here, once you're alive, you'll need to blend in like the locals to avoid being noticed here. So again, you want to come up with your own tasks here. Now you can come up with a realistic task. If there's some homework you want to update your resume, you want to do some prep for something, certainly do that. If you want to be creative with some imaginary task here, that's fine to just come up with that. If you have this one only has again one agent, one task, you have to have two or more. And I think it's fun if you have like three or four agents. That's kind of fun. Uh, and again, you could have yeah, a couple agents and different tasks, whatever. And then you set up your crew. You do your results and you display your results. So then we can run through this here. I think this sample will actually work. Uh, it looks like I'm getting an error. Oh, because I think I'm running the same tools with the same LLM here. I think um my LLM is Gemini, and we must hit the limit on Gemini's daily access today. So let me try that. We should make sure the Hugging Face one works too, because we can also try that. Yeah, and then for your write-up, just describe what you're doing in the write-up and then submit both your a link to your notebook and your write-up. Sound good? That's all you have to do today is get a crew working for you.